Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here with our daily tarot reading. Today is Tuesday, July 25th. And my intention for the day is nurturing your garden. Like I said at the beginning of the week, we have lots of garden imagery this week. I don't know why I'm leaning into it, but I really am. So I'm going with the vibe, and I think it fits. And in fact, yesterday in our Lenormand pair, I drew the garden. So continue from that energy, I think is important today. Tapping into that, especially because that card kind of helped balance out some other cards, or at least inform them. So I'm leading with that today, nurturing your garden. Again, guys, like usual, if that doesn't work, just think understanding the day. That'll be just fine. We're doing our daily thinking, feeling, doing reading. And so think about your intention, guys, and let's start our shuffle. Okay, so I start the shuffle, and again, thinking about the intention of nurturing my garden. So I'm letting all the garden imagery really sink in. I'm thinking about what my garden looks like. And remember, I planted my seeds on Sunday, so I'm kind of thinking, how are those doing? And as I'm doing that, taking deep breaths, I'm centering, and I'm really getting into the vibe of gardening. Do that with me. All right, so I've brought the deck from Chaos into Unity, and we are ready to draw our first tarot card. In the thinking position, the card that I draw is the Ace of Pentacles reversed. The Ace of Pentacles reversed in the thinking position is definitely showing me that I may be too focused on material success today, material gain. I may be too focused on just the resources I have in front of me, meaning I could be too obsessed with stuff today. But the other side of the Ace of Pentacles is that it could mean that that stuff isn't fulfilling. That stuff isn't as protective for me or as actually valuable as it used to be for me, and that it's time for me to move beyond that. So I think it could be one of those things. It could be this idea that either I'm too obsessed with the material, but it could also be that obsession with the material, or that material in general, my stuff, my what I've accumulated, that maybe there's the idea that it's time to branch out from that it's time to move beyond that. There's also obviously a some garden imagery in the Ace of Pentacles, and it's upside down here. So I think there's this idea that a place that maybe felt secure, or resources that felt almost so essential that I could never imagine life without them. Maybe those things are losing a little bit of their power, and that maybe it's time to step out of the garden a little bit. It could also just mean looking at it from a different perspective. And remember, we're in thinking. We're in the thinking position. So while that's more of a generalized approach to the Ace of Pentacles reversed, I think in the thinking position, it's showing me that my thoughts are either too much on my stuff, or my thoughts are kind of hinting to me, we've had a lot about intuition too, are kind of hinting to me that I may want to branch out. My garden will still be here, but I may want to go beyond that arch and out into a little bit of exploration, at least in my thoughts. So I'm going to go with that for now. Let's see what the rest of the cards have to say. In the feeling position, my next card, I draw the Wheel of Fortune. All right, the Wheel of Fortune in feeling. We are feeling cycles today. Inevitable cycles. The wheel has turned, something in our life has changed, something in our life will change, something in our life is changing. The wheel does not care, the wheel will turn. The wheel goes on no matter what we have to say about it, we just have to deal with it. But that freedom is gorgeous, because that freedom reveals our will. That freedom shows us where we can exude that will and where we can't. Where we should focus our energy and where we shouldn't, because we can't do anything about it. So I love seeing this in feeling. I think especially if we're thinking about nurturing our garden, I think we can kind of get wrapped up in like, oh, but like, what if I don't water it this way? Or what if the sun isn't shining in the way I want it to today? What if, something comes along, like a little bunny, and like, starts gnawing at my plants or whatever, or something like that. No shade on bunnies, but like, you know what I mean? I just feel like we can't control that. Like we have no control over those kinds of things. What we do have control over is, again, nurturing our garden. So the things we don't have control over, let it be. That's what the wheel shows us in feeling, especially in our emotions today. Let that be. We can water our plants. We can put fertilizer on them. We can action our intentions in whatever way we choose. But if things don't turn out for one reason or the other, that's just inevitable. Move on. Don't waste our time. Maybe that's also talking about thinking in the Ace of Pentacles reversed. Maybe it's also talking about your focus on your resources, or how valuable they are or aren't. We can choose to focus on them or not. We can't really decide what something is or isn't. We can't decide we can decide how valuable something is to us, but never to the outside world. We can never decide other people's perceptions even. So in this case, the wheel and feeling is showing me, nurture your garden. That is your will. You can do that. But if something happens that's out of your control, or don't focus on it, or don't focus on the potentiality of something happening like that, something that's out of your control, let it go. Free yourself from that. And the card that I draw in the doing position is Strength. Perfect. Here we have will enacted in one of its most obvious archetypal forms. This card shows us actively engaging in control. The card shows us that, first of all, we are in control. We are in balance, and that we are using that control and balance to fortify ourselves, It's also embracing our wild side, but taming that wild side. Not tampering it, not putting it out, but controlling it. So that when we want to get wild, we can get wild, but our garden will still be tended. Our self will still be balanced. So seeing strength here is beautiful because where the wheel is like you have no control over certain things. Strength is like, yes, but this is what I have control over. And I know that, and I'm going to use that. And maybe that's how we decide or alter our perceptions of our garden, of our safe spaces, of our stuff. Maybe. Let's get a little bit more clarity on how we can use strength to the fullest by doing our Lenormand pair, though. Okay, so once again, guys, we're going to shuffle this deck thoroughly. I'm going to be reminding myself of my intention, nurturing my garden, repeating that, thinking about how I'm viewing my garden now after those tarot cards, which is probably a little bit different for all of us now. Probably picturing the garden that is featured in the Ace of Pentacles a little bit. Then I'm going to take some deep breaths, center, and let's do that together for a bit. Okay, so I've brought the deck from Chaos into Unity, and we are ready to draw our first card in the pair. And that card is the mice. So, this card represents some intense stuff. Corruption, worry, toxicity, decay. Those are all not great things for a garden. I said a bunny earlier, I guess I meant a rat. But we saw the wheel, so it's inevitable. We can't control what happens there. So let's see the second card. Maybe give us a little bit more clarity on how this idea is going to play into some kind of action today. The second card I draw in the pair is the bouquet. The bouquet is social, greetings, pleasantness, but in a sense of social interactions. And with the bouquet, there's a sense of almost of a gift as well. Definitely beauty, obviously. It is a beautiful bouquet. Also, in the imagery, there are flowers. So again, garden. We're thinking about these things. How that informs the mice? I think here, with the bouquet and the mice, I think we're maybe seeing a sense of something potential, maybe a potentially toxic relationship is hinted at here. It could also be because again, this is the pair of action. You know, Lenormand is about how we action the day. And I think if we really think about it, and it's pretty complex, but I think if we think about it, because we're talking about nurturing our garden, I always try to go back to our intention if there's an especially difficult card or pair. And I think that what it's saying here is that, I think again, the mice is hinting back to the wheel. So it could be inevitable that there's something that will corrupt our garden, corrupt our thoughts. And maybe it's just worry. Maybe it's just that we are too invested in our worries. Or again, Ace of Pentacles reverse, maybe it's that we're too obsessed with materiality and we're not seeing the bigger picture, the more beautiful elements of our garden. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a warning that says that if we overfocus on the superficial elements of our garden, of our safe spaces. If we don't accept the wheel in all of its glory, if we don't utilize our strength, then we could be letting in some kind of corrupting force. Something that could eat our plants. Something that could take advantage of us. And with the bouquet, maybe it's hinting at a toxic group of people. You know, yesterday's reading, we had in the Lenormand pair, it was the garden and the woman. And we were talking about social circles, especially female representing social circles. I think here it may be hinting that in some social circle, some social element of our life, that there is a potential for toxicity if we don't move beyond superficiality, if we don't accept inevitable change, people going in and out of the group, potentially difficult people that are just going to be in every group. But if we don't, with all of that in mind, utilize our strength, our balance, our ability to control what we can control, then we might lose some of the beautiful elements of our social lives. Or we might let seep in some kind of toxic vibe into our nurturing of our garden today, into our garden. I think this is saying, pay really close attention, especially to groups, especially to social interactions. Pay really close attention to what you can and can't control. Let go entirely of what you can't control. Don't even think about it. And then just give into what you can and embrace that to its fullest. Embrace your will to its fullest. And use the idea of flowers. The idea that when we nurture our garden and we take care of it, we're able to see that something gnawed on our plants. We're able to see that something got into our garden that we don't want there, and we can do something about that to bring up the most beautiful flowers, to get that most beautiful bouquet. That's how I'm going to focus on it today. Leave what I can't control aside, forget about it. Control what I can control, and then keep nurturing that garden. Come back and check on it. Kind of a lot, even if it's just in your mind. Go back and check on what you're doing, what you want to bring to fruition in your life today, especially. Think about that. Control what you can control, and keep an eye on things to make sure that everything's on the up and up and nothing's coming to the garden that we don't want there. I'll see you tomorrow.